Though there are times when I cannot see the path in front of me, I lose my way and feel so alone, like every friend I've ever known is gone, so far, far from home. Then I hear life call to me. There are choices to make, so how will it be? Are you gonna play safe, risk nothing at all? Or will you rise up with the colors of dawn, illuminating every step that you take? And I'm rising in love, I'm rising in love. This is my choice, this is my life, and I'm rising in love. If you won't stop it, and the seasons won't change it, war can't kill it, I now claim it. Love, love, divine Spirit God within me, your love flows throughout so naturally, raising my heart, singing my voice, speaking of love and calming the noise and generating every breath that I take. So I'm rising in love, I'm rising in love. This is my choice, this is my life, and I'm rising in love. And love is lifting us higher. 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 Oh, love is lifting us higher.
Was filled, it'd be wild applause, because that's so wonderful. And I love, I've heard this song so many times. I love it. Love is lifting us higher, but love is my choice. We have to choose love. We have to choose that we want to be loving. And oftentimes we have to make the choice between, do I want to be loving or do I want to be right? Do I want to be loving? Or do I want to take the time to prove that you're wrong? And do I want to prove that this is absolutely, how many of you have ever been stuck? And a lot of it, we get stuck because we really are sure that this is insurmountable. But guess what? The talk title for today is "The Truth Shall Set You Free," so you don't have to be stuck. And love can lift you higher. Actually, love lifts you out of. No, love doesn't lift you out of. Love lifts you above a situation so that you can see it from a broader point of view. I think that anytime we feel stuck, it's because our eyesight, our perspective has become incredibly limited. And some people really like that limitation because there's not a lot of wiggle room, but they don't have to prove anything. There's just so little to consider. And love will lift us above that, and there will be so much to consider. So much to consider. So, July is the month that we traditionally, at least I traditionally, celebrate freedom. And we started that because in July, the United States celebrates its freedom from English rule. And the song that came to me is the Carpenters. I put little musical symbols here because it's like, no, this was a song. We've only just begun. Let's face it. Freedom, although it was revolutionary. It was revolutionary. It was so revolutionary. Even the statement, we hold these truths to be self-evident. There was no self-evidence in the world at that time. People didn't go around saying, oh yeah, all people are created equal. Self-evident? No. There was always a hierarchy. For millennia, there has been hierarchy. There has been the head of things, the people that they chose to serve them, and then some others that were merchants, and then everyone else. There's been hierarchy in the world forever, in most civilizations. Most, not all. So to say we hold these truths to be self-evident, that was absolutely revolutionary, and it could cause a revolutionary experience that would revolutionize not only the way that this country was managed, but other countries as well. So we started something. Guess what? We are beginners. We know how to start stuff. Unfortunately, it was very narrow in scope. And it's being drawn to our attention over and over again, but I've been talking about this for decades, by the way. Their freedom did not include the slaves or the women or the indigenous people. So once again, it was a great idea, but was a very narrow idea. And that idea, though, has been expanding. Why? Because spiritual freedom is a divine idea. It is a spiritual principle, and we are growing into it. Humanity is growing into an ideal that God has always held, which is that all people are created equal and therefore all deserving of divine freedom. Freedom is an aspect of God, and we need to grow into it, individually and collectively. It is still evolving in its manifestation, and in that evolution, in that idea becoming form, it's been getting messy. And for those of us that are a little bit further along the way, we don't like the mess. But it's like children growing up. How many of you have had children, and when you had that child, or even a puppy, or a kitten, them growing up is messy. They go through messy stages. I think us as human beings are going through the messy stage. For instance, some people don't want to have to be in regard of others in their pursuit of freedom. I want to be free, and I'm not going to regard you and what you think about it. It's just the messiness. It's the don't tell me what to do-ness. People do that. And some people don't want to have to give up anything that they have, and just in case they have to give it up. They don't know that they have to give it up, but they don't want to even take the chance of giving it up so that others can have something. It's crazy. It's just us growing up. We are growing up. I have faith in us. Why do I have faith in us? Because I believe that the divine lives in all of us, and it is moving us to the inner experience of our inner freedom, therefore our inner equality with all other people. Because if it is not revealed from within, if it's not something that we become aware of and therefore we want to live, it will always be messy. You can't legislate people growing up and valuing other people. But what we can do as spiritual people is let love lift us up so that we can draw others up with us. See, in this whole growing up thing, there's so many ways to address freedom. As a citizen, you need to express your concerns to people who have something or some power to do something about it. As a citizen, I need to, if I see something happening, I need to address it to those people in charge. Not complain about it with other people. I need to vote my values. And for those of you that have the stomach for it, enter politics. You know, I know so many people, especially spiritual people. Well, politics is dirty. Politics is awful. Politics is messy. Well, guess what? Maybe they need more spiritual people in politics then. Maybe they need you in politics. If you've got all those great ideas and you are so enlightened, then get the hell into politics. Or do what I'm doing, which is as a spiritual person striving to live a more spirit-centered life, I need to cultivate love. I need to choose love. And that means I must choose forgiveness more and more and more and more. I saw a quote by Byron Katie recently, and I put it on my Facebook page and shared it everywhere, as many places as I could. But it was so powerful, it just hit me like, this is it. Byron Katie said, forgiveness is just another name for freedom. If you can't forgive, you cannot be free. And what we want is an inner sense of freedom, because a person who has an inner sense of freedom has that sense of freedom given out from them almost like a fragrance. Consciousness is contagious. That's why one of the New Thought mystics said, don't complain, because a complaining consciousness creates a complaining, contentious consciousness around them, and then people just get grouchy. But so too is freedom is contagious, and love is contagious and powerful. Gandhi did not preach, oh, get 'em. No, Gandhi preached love and nonviolence. People who have been incredibly powerful had incredibly high values, and they let something greater than themselves lift them up so that they could raise others up as well. It's been a long time since I've spoke of forgiveness, but it's kind of like brushing your teeth. I'm not sure you can ever do it too often. Therefore, I'm not sure you can be reminded too often that forgiveness might be in order. Not forgiveness as you might associate it though. That's I'm going to shift it a little bit. Although the kind of forgiveness that you are familiar with is a good forgiveness. It's a great forgiveness, but it's not what I'm going to talk about today. But just, but it's still good. It's when you let people off the mental hook. That's good. Because the person who forgives is the person who becomes free, not the person who is being forgiven. When you let them off the mental hook, you're free. Yay, hey. I have a text I want to share with you that just came today, because one of our wonderful prayer practitioners asks me every Sunday morning, well, what do you want to pray for? What do you want to have be as the contagion of your talk? What do you want to have as the result of your speaking? And what I said was, I want people to experience freedom freedom through forgiveness. And she said, oh yeah, I can attest to that in my own life. I never felt so free from the pain of the past than the day that I forgave my father. The spaciousness of that freedom was also so palpable, like I could breathe deep for the first time in my life. Now, I happen to know her her family's story, and I think I would have had a hard time forgiving her father. If that had been my father, I would have had a hard time, but hopefully love would have lifted me up, and hopefully I would have chosen love, and hopefully I would have chosen freedom, and therefore been willing to forgive. So the power is definitely amazing. I spoke a little bit about this last week when I spoke about making amends, building a bridge. Who are you out with? And who do you need to get back into relationship with? But I want to take it a little bit further today. So I want to talk about a mystical practice of forgiveness, where you let God give forth itself as you give up trying to do things yourself, which are always hard. You know, it's easy to give up the easy stuff. You know, like, it was easy for me. You know, actually, it's been pretty easy for me to give up sweets. We don't have sweets in the house. Right now, the sweetest thing that we have any given day is some fruit. I don't have a problem. I can give up sweets. Cheese, on the other hand, is a different thing. See, are we willing to give up those things that are hard? And I'm going to talk about some things that are hard. Because I think that if you're watching this, you want to be better and do better. You do. You wouldn't watch this. You would not be called to be in conversation or in some sort of connection right now if there wasn't this deep desire to fulfill your spiritual destiny. And I bet you try really hard to be good. I bet you've tried hard not to worry, not to be concerned, and not to be stressed, to not be resentful. I bet you've tried really hard to not be a burden on society. I bet you've tried really hard to not be grouchy and intimidate others. I bet you've tried really hard to be a good citizen. And sometimes it's hard to do, which means it's all being called. We are being called for forgiveness, to give up our trying, our burden, and let God do the work. Isn't there an old hymn, Lay My Burden Down? I think there is. Lay my burden down. If there isn't one, there should be. Yeah, I bet there is. It's just powerful. So I want to talk about some things that you may be fussing with, and that perhaps forgiveness would be the answer, which would be, I'm willing to give this up, and God was willing to give through me to resolve this issue. And the first thing I want to talk about is frustration. How many of you are frustrated right now? I mean, frustrated with laws, with other people, frustrated with a pandemic that just keeps on going. I mean, I'm sorry. I knew that it wasn't going to be over by spring, but I thought summer. I mean, really. I thought, come on, June, July. I thought we'd all go into our homes, hunker down, and it would almost be like when the plagues would pass over the children of Israel. That where if we just were in our homes, and the angel of death would just go by, and we'd all be safe, and then it would be gone, and we'd come out and go, yay, now we can play in the sun again. It did not happen. I'm frustrated. But if I take that frustration out on other people, it's not a good thing. Or if I internalize that frustration, it's not good for my body. So a prayer might be, Father, Mother, God within, take my frustration and replace my frustrations, all of them, with a powerful clarity on what is mine to do, to live in peace and wake in joy and serve others every day of my life. because that frustration is an energy, and energy wants to go someplace. So I give up my wanting to change things, and I'm willing to have God change me so that that energy can go into productive activities, life-enhancing activities, blessing activities, instead of condemning activities. Another thing that I've noticed on Facebook is that people have opinions. Oh my goodness. Sometimes the simplest little statement will bring up these amazing opinions. And then opinions about that opinion. And all I know is that people are throwing opinions. They're not listening to each other. They're just throwing opinions and hopefully hitting something. But they're not, because nobody's listening to their opinion. They're waiting to throw their own opinion. And here's what I know for sure, is I have very limited opinions compared to God's opinions. God said it this way: my thoughts are not your thoughts, and my ways are not your ways. Get over yourself. Well, it didn't say that, but it meant that. Get over yourself. If my opinion keeps me from interacting and conversing and building a bridge, then I perhaps need to let my opinion go. If it is not really truly serving me, maybe I need to reconsider my opinion. I'm really watching this not only on Facebook, but I'm watching some of my fellow ministers on a list that we have together. And what I noticed is that we are not at this time really listening to each other because we can't really get past our own opinion. So, how many of you know that your opinions block you from having productive dialogue? I want to get to the prayer for that, but before I do that, I realized that there's probably a reason that in my library I found and must reread a book on nonviolent communication. Because communication is key. Communion and communication are key, but it has to be in such a way where love is at the heart of the conversation, not on the periphery. So, the prayer for that, if you know your opinions get in the way, is, God, take away my need to be right in the sight of others, and give forth your patience and your love through all of my words and all of my thoughts. Forgiveness. I'll give this up, and God will give forth itself through me. I need to talk about something just slightly shifting this, which is that wounded people have a greater tendency to want to wound. Hurt people hurt people. And the presence and power of God knows how to heal deep wounds, much like I shared with you from my friend, the practitioner, who said that she was finally free when she forgave her father. This is The God of Love, a guide to the heart of Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. And it's by Mirabai Starr, wonderful researcher and scholar. And she talks about grace. And grace is the free givingness of God, not the unearned, just I can heal you, God. I can do this for you, God. In Micah, it says, who is a God like you, who pardons sin and forgives the transgressions of the remnant of his inheritance? You do not stay angry forever, but delight to show mercy. You will again have compassion on us. That compassion shows up as the revelation of wholeness, even in hard times. She said, the sages have taught you to love your enemies and forgive those who persecute you. Now, haven't you heard that? Forgive your enemies and love those who persecute you. That sounds good. It's hard. Kind of like giving up our frustration is hard and giving up our opinions is hard. And I had to do this because some of us are frustrated with us being stuck, but we're stuck because we haven't gotten over something and we have the opinion we can't possibly get over that. But what they forget to tell you, these sages, is that you are powerless to achieve this on your own. Phew. You knew it was hard. It is hard. It's almost impossible. You can't do this on your own. That was horrific, that what you went through. And it doesn't even have to be physical abuse. It could have just been mom was sick for a year and you felt abandoned and you never got over it. I don't know. You can cultivate a loving heart through prayer and fearless self-inquiry, small acts of kindness, and more radical acts of social justice. You can turn towards your pain and say yes to your life, but you need the God of love to meet you. You cannot forgive without grace, and grace is not something that you can demand to have happen. You can only allow it to happen through you. So you pray for grace. Father, Mother, God within, I give up my opinion that this can't be healed. I give up my trying to be better, to be good enough to make this go away. I give up my desire to have it just be nothing. Instead, I allow the grace of God to flow through me and reveal my original innocence and wholeness, that I might be as I was in the beginning. And it can happen. I've watched it happen. I've watched it happen in others. I've watched it happen in myself. The last thing that I want to say is, and this wraps everything up, is we need to release our resistance to forgiveness. We need to release our resistance to being better. Because somehow, if I stay wounded, it continues to prove that they were wrong. And if I release my opinion and my thoughts and my judgments, then who would I be? And besides that, I'm so much more clever and enlightened and smart and advanced than they are. Why should I give up my opinions? Why should I give up my prejudices? I know you think other people are prejudiced. Yeah. A wonderful New Thought mystic, Emma Curtis Hopkins, said, every opinion is a prejudice. Until we know, as God knows, every opinion is small and limited. Are we willing to give it up? So take a deep breath. And you get to ask yourself, do you want to rise up in love? Do you want to be, and I love it. It's not like rise up like go up the stairs. It's not like here's love and you got to climb a ladder. It's not Jacob's ladder. Do you want to be lifted? It's lifted, right? Do you want to be lifted into love? To be lifted into love is to be experiencing that updraft that is always happening, and the only thing that is keeping us from being lifted in love is our opinions and our prejudices and our resistance to being different. It's not different like as in a total transformation. It's actually being different like who you were in the beginning, because we were all born innocent, loving, cooperative, filled with life and creativity. We were born to be satisfied and fulfilled, and that's what the holy books have been teaching, every holy book that I've read. This thing that they talk about that people perceive as something that you get when you die, no, it's supposed to be for here. And love will take you there. Are you willing to forgive? Which means, are you willing to give forth who you think you are and how you have behaved? And are you willing to give up the way that you think so that God can give forth its thoughts through you, its actions through you, its power through you, its grace through you? If so, y'all will join me in prayer, because we're going to say something like this. Father, Mother, God, take from my mind the belief forgiveness is hard, and replace it with the ease and the grace that only the Holy Spirit can give. Father, Mother, God within, take from me my willingness to suffer because others are suffering. No. Give me grace and ease that I might rise up and draw others up so that we can change this world through grace and ease, because we've tried it another way and it really doesn't work. My goodness, isn't that the definition of insanity? That we're going to hate our way to love? That we are going to be prejudiced and blame and condemn our way to heaven? It's never worked. So I'm asking you to take a stand with me. That no matter what's going on out here, and there's stuff going on out there, that yes, you take a stand for Black Lives Matters, and indigenous people need to be respected, and that women need to be lifted up, and that children should be protected. You take your stand for any of that, but you must do it with a heart of love, because that's what will really make the difference. That's what will really free us to be the country we were created to be. That we hold these truths to be self-evident, that all are created equal, now and forever, and rolling out through time, generations, and galaxies. And then we will say together, and so it is.